Soto goat did.
It wasn't interesting. You know, Shannon, you mentioned you would bring the goat mask, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Worth that?
I had it, Jenny.
Oh, okay. We'll save it for another day. We'll save it for another day. How about this, though, guys? The Texans have hired Ravens assistant coach David Culley, according to reports. He was Baltimore's passing game coordinator and wide receivers coach. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said Culley would be a tremendous hire for the Texans and Deshaun Watson. Meanwhile, Watson remains unhappy with the organization in Houston and could force a trade away from the team. So, Shannon, how will this hire impact Deshaun's future now with the Texans?
Unfortunately, I hate to break it to the Texans fans, David Culley will not be coaching Deshaun Watson. My sources have told me that Deshaun Watson has requested a trade. He requested a trade several weeks ago. He's made it abundantly clear. I no longer want to play for this organization. And what I was told, I'm willing to play hardball in order to get my way out of here. He does not trust Cal McNair. He does not trust the front office. He doesn't like the culture in which they've cultivated in that organization. So he's like, I'm done. I'm out. And he hasn't said where he wants to go, but what I've told, he hopes to go somewhere where he doesn't have a Carmelo Anthony situation, where all the good players that he wants to play with, you have to get rid of them in order to get me. That defeats the purpose. But he made it abundantly clear to me, the source did, that he no longer wants to be in Texas. And that's bad news for the Houston Texans. Now, I believe they've already started the process, Skip, of going about trying to find a possible suitor, and how much can we extrapolate? Because he is one of the better quarterbacks. He's top 5, no worse than top 6 quarterbacks in the National Football League.
Absolutely.
And Todd McShay said he's only slightly better than Sam Darnold. I think Todd McShay might have bumped his head. And so, Skip, that's where they are. The source said, Shannon, at this point in time, there's no hire that they can make that I believe would make Deshaun change his mind. Because what happened is that they lied in the beginning. They swore to him they were going to keep him in the loop. And then all of a sudden, the loop got extremely small and the phone calls did not happen. He's like, I thought you guys were going to keep me in the loop. I thought what transpired, you're going to keep me every step along the way, you were going to keep me up to date. And that didn't happen. Once that didn't happen, once the minorities candidates were not being interviewed as they told him it was, it wasn't until, Skip, he voiced his displeasure that all of a sudden they circled back with Eric Bieniemy. And all of a sudden they wanted to interview some of these other guys. But I was also told some of these interviews that they say were going to happen, they never called. They never got a call. So at that point in time, I was told, Deshaun's like, I'm done. I got to go. And so that's where they are now, Skip. I believe there's a 99.5% chance Deshaun Watson will be traded. 99.5.
I got it. 99.9 or 5?
99.5.
599?
Yes.
Okay, got it. You have been way ahead of this curve from the start because your sources have been impeccable on this in keeping me abreast of Deshaun's unhappiness.
Yes.
I have no issue with Deshaun's unhappiness because I have lots of issues with that culture in question in Houston, dating back to the late Robert McNair, who obviously owned and operated the team ahead of his son.
Yes.
Briefly, let's discuss David Culley.
Yes.
A hire that came completely out of the blue and out of left field. But fortunately, in one regard, he is African-American.
Correct.
So let's give them that much due that he is the only African-American head coach hired in this cycle. And we thought we were going to get shut out.
Yes.
And yet, out of the blue comes David Culley. Why am I familiar with David Culley? Only because he played quarterback at my school in the middle to late 70s, 75, 76, 77. He was a quarterback, played some quarterback on and off as a starting quarterback for Vanderbilt University in the Southeastern Conference.
Now you got a head coach.
Okay, he was not great. They went 7-4 his sophomore year, then 2-9, 2-9, because it's hard for Vanderbilt to compete in the Southeastern Conference. But every time there's been a big coaching vacancy at Vanderbilt, I always see his name pop up as a potential candidate.
Right.
So I tried to keep up with him in the NFL, but he has been way, way, way under the radar in the NFL low these many years because he is now 65 years of age.
Yes.
So what do we just see happen? Over the last 3 years, we have had a parade of 30-something white coaches come from nowhere and get head coaching jobs after maybe a year or two as a quarterback coach or an offensive coordinator.
Correct.
In some cases, such as Brandon Staley, a defensive coordinator for 1 year, just 1 year only for the Rams, and suddenly he is the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers at age 38. And I'm like, how? Why?
Yes.
Show me what. Okay, so by all accounts, David Culley is highly respected because the people inside the game really know David Culley. Andy Reid used to rave about David Culley because what was he to Andy Reid? He was with him for years and years and years in Philadelphia and then on to Kansas City. In Philly, he graduated up to what was called senior offensive assistant to Andy Reid. And then once Andy went to Kansas City, he took him along as assistant head coach.
Right.
Okay, so I can make the case that as much as I like the resume of Eric Bieniemy, this resume stacks up with Eric's as it pertains to Andy Reid, who has raved in the past about David Culley. His positivity, his energy, how he's always the same every day. And the quote to Ed Werder of ESPN from John Harbaugh last night was, David is a genuine guy. He will be who he is every day. He's been that guy every day of his career. Great person, genuine, full of energy. Okay, so that's what you're getting. You're getting a rock.
Right.
There was also one other report that I read late last night that pointed out that David Culley helped coach Deshaun at last year's Pro Bowl because the Ravens staff was coaching the Pro Bowl. You know how that works.
Yes.
And according to one report, they hit it off or clicked or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so my question is that we might not know the answer to at this moment.
Right.
Was Deshaun at all apprised of a potential David Culley hiring before they went ahead and made it official?
Well, I didn't know. He didn't mention that. I think the biggest thing, Skip, that really, from what I was told, that irked them was the hiring of the general manager.
Okay.
There's somebody in there, I think it's Jack Easterby. Easterby.
Yep.
Therein lies the problem.
Okay. And he's way up at the top of management.
Right. So
and it was his choice, I think, and obviously with Cal McNair's blessing, to go get another New England connection, which was Nick Caserio as the GM. Again, in New England, Bill Belichick has final say and final decision.
Correct.
But Nick Caserio worked alongside Bill Belichick as the quote-unquote GM.
Right.
Okay.
But the source said that Deshaun was promised he would be kept abreast. He would be kept in the loop. That's what he was promised. He was promised that. All of a sudden, the recommendations come out who they're like, Louis Riddick and the guy from Pittsburgh. And
both minority candidates.
Yep. And then all of a sudden,
that was from the search firm that they paid who knows how much.
Diligence, Skip. Then all of a sudden, there was no more phone calls. And basically, to make it, he went rogue.
He did.
Against the advice, it's kind of like against the advice of counsel, you did this.
Yep.
It's like, hold on, I thought you said you. And then with the minority candidates, the minority candidates really didn't start getting interviewed until you started hearing the rumblings that Deshaun was upset. And then all of a sudden, hey, do you mind coming in? At that point in time, Deshaun says, no, all you try